feel like this is like a bit cringy, like I'm a little like over here right now. As you guys know, there are a lot of trends that go around on YouTube. One creator creates a video and other creators think it's a good idea, and then it tends to spiral off from there, and a lot of people create kind of the same video on the same topic. I think for the past 2 months or so, a lot of creators have been sharing videos talking about the dumbest purchases that they made in their 20s. And I just thought that this was such a good and funny idea, but I wanted to put a spin on it to relate to the stuff that I talk about. So I want to share the dumbest things that I have done within my blogging business, or the dumbest mistakes that I have made. Now, if you guys know me, I don't really like using the word dumb or stupid, idiot, moron, any of those. They just have such a negative connotation. They bring you down. They don't fill you up with anything positive, anything good. Personal preference, I choose to put my vocabulary with more positive words. But for today's video, these things were dumb. They were silly. They were things that I really should have known better, and looking back, I just have to laugh. I know that they happened for a reason and I learned important lessons because of them, but they were dumb. Starting from the very beginning, I have shared this story before, but when I started my website, I was in a really unhappy place, and just within one night, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna buy a website, I'm gonna buy a domain. So I came up with a domain and I purchased it, and I knew that I wanted a WordPress website. I was working in the digital marketing industry. That's all I had really heard about was WordPress. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna get a WordPress website. But what I didn't know was that there was a difference between a WordPress.com site and a WordPress.org site, and of course, I got a WordPress.com site. Now, if you do not know the difference, WordPress.com, everything lives within WordPress. They are your host and they are also like your creator. Compared to a WordPress.org site, you can go to a different host such as Bluehost or GoDaddy, and then it's a self-hosted website, you know? And then the software, everything else is WordPress. There is a difference in the capabilities of those two websites, and I accidentally got a WordPress.com website. And whenever you buy a domain on a certain host, you aren't allowed to transfer it for 90 days. So I had to wait 90 days to transfer my website from WordPress.com to Bluehost into a WordPress.org website. So from the very beginning, I did not start off strong. And if you are thinking about starting a website, please use WordPress.org with either Bluehost or GoDaddy. This one I'm so embarrassed to admit this because it was one of those things where I should have known better. I should have known better. But you know how on Pinterest, you curate a lot of content. You share other stuff from other people and you don't really have to give credit where credit is due because it's either linked to their account or it's linked to a website or something. So I love quotes. I have loved quotes for the longest time. I was like, you know what, why don't I share some quotes on Instagram? Every few weeks, I think it was maybe like every other week, I would share a quote on Instagram. Here's the problem, okay? I didn't tag the creator of the quote. It didn't even occur to me that I had to tag the creator of the quote, which, what the heck was I thinking? And of course I used a hashtag, and then a different profile picked up the quote, reshared it, and they thought that I designed it. I never said that I designed it, but I didn't give credit where credit was due. So obviously, of course, they thought that I designed it. So once that one page picked it up, a variety of different pages picked it up, and then I ended up having someone reach out to me on Instagram and say, hey, this other person shared your quote but didn't tag you. I don't want them to steal your content. And I was like, oh my goodness, that's actually the creator of the quote. Now I know who it is, I can tag them on my profile. And the person went off on me. And they were like, as a content creator, that's absolutely disgusting of you. How dare you share someone else's content without doing your research first? And I was so taken back. I didn't honestly realize that it was a problem, and it was just, it was so bad. I immediately removed all of the quotes on my Instagram account, and I have never shared a quote on there again. Now, I have made a couple of dumb mistakes when it comes to my website. I am not a website designer, but I developed my website all on my own. I didn't have any help with it. And the first mistake that I made within my website, besides the WordPress thing, was adding too much CSS to my website. And what that means, it's basically, without going into the back end of your website, you can edit your coding within the customize section of WordPress, and you can just make some minor tweaks. It basically overwrites your coding. It doesn't rewrite it. So it tends to cause a lot of problems. It can slow down on your website, and I ended up making my site speed about like 10 seconds, I think, at one point, because I had too much CSS on my website. So I ended up having to go back through and removing the majority of the CSS that I had created. I ended up optimizing the rest of it, and I went too crazy at the beginning, okay? I didn't really know that CSS could slow down your website, and boy, did it slow down my website. If you guys have been following me for a while, then you know, I have crashed my website twice. All because I tried to do things on my own. So one of the big mistakes I made, I ended up transferring my site from Bluehost to GoDaddy because I was leveling up my site. I needed a bit more of an advanced hosting server. So I ended up switching to GoDaddy, and when I made that switch, I was like, you know what, I can transfer my site on my own. I'll just do my research and I'll do it. My website ended up being down for over 24 hours, and it was awful, and I ended up having to pay $85 for someone else to go in there and fix it, and then when they fixed it, there was other problems, and I had to pay more money to get everything fixed and back to normal. So do not try to do everything on your own. I crashed my website because I tried to transfer it myself, and then I crashed it another time because I was trying to change my 404 page. I went into the back end of my website, so instead of that CSS like I was talking about, I went into the back end of my website and I tried to change the coding there. I am not a coder, and I ended up crashing it. So trust a professional. Yeah. I ended up trying to launch a paid course way too early. I was only a year into my blog, and I really wanted to monetize it, so I was like, you know what, I'll create a paid course, and I didn't really care what my audience was interested in. I just created something that I knew, and I talked about content creation, and I was like, okay, came out with a course, charged $50-some for it, and it was a complete and utter flop, and it was a terrible mistake, and I really risked the chance of losing my audience for just trying to monetize my blog too quickly. So yeah, that was definitely a learning curve. And then the last mistake I want to share with you guys is something that actually happened recently, and it drives me crazy because it was such an easy fix. Back in, I think it was October, my website stopped updating for everyone. Now, I'm on my website all the time, and if you guys know anything about your cache, basically your internet browser, it holds information from the websites that you have been to so that it is faster to load them in the future. So I am on my website every single darn day, so sometimes I have to go through and clear my cache. Like, it will not update because it's got so much in there that like it just pulls up old versions of my website. It doesn't actually update, so I have to go in there and clear my cache. Well, here's the thing. Back in, I think it was October, my website stopped updating, and I thought it was just me. So I had to be logged into my website a certain way in order to see the new content that I was sharing. So when I was launching blog posts, I was sharing them on Pinterest and I was sharing them on Instagram, but my website wasn't updating, and I did not realize that for my audience. So then I ended up having someone reach out to me on Instagram and say, hey, you launched this blog post, it was about affiliate marketing. I want to learn more about affiliate marketing, but I can't find it on your website. And I was like, you know what, this happens to me all the time. Just clear your cache and it will update. Well, turns out my website wasn't updating for everyone for over 2 months, guys. It took me until Christmas to realize that my website wasn't updating for anyone. So no one could see my new content unless they found it on Pinterest and were being led to those new pages. Otherwise, no one could see anything new that I was sharing on my website. And once I realized this was a problem, I was like, oh crap, it's gonna cost me a lot of money. Like, ugh. I was not ready to pay for something like that. Did a little bit of research, and I realized that I have got this performance plugin on my website, and I can actually clear my website's cache from the back end. All I had to do was click one button, and all of my website was updated, and it was fixed for everyone. And it took me over 2 months to realize that. So, dumb mistake. Dumb mistake. So I hope you guys liked that, learned a little bit about what not to do when it comes to blogging. I feel like a lot of my mistakes have come within my website. I'm not a website developer. I do not know anything about coding. I've just really taught myself, but yeah, sometimes it is good to contact a professional, and you know, I don't know. Just learn from my mistakes, please. Please do not make them. Please do not ever share someone else's content without tagging them or giving them credit. That was probably the biggest mistake that I have ever made and something that will stick with me forever. So I hope you guys like this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I feel like this is like a bit cringy. Like I'm a little like over here right now, but I hope you guys liked this video. Make sure you subscribe and I will see you guys back here in another one. Bye guys.